All right, friends, good evening and welcome to a chilly evening here in Fourways on this 24th of March, which I believe is a historic event in many ways because it's almost, I think my team can help me out, but it was about was about March 2008 that we launched the gig movement. Uh, and those days we didn't even have a name for it. We just realized we need to think long term. And it was 3 years later that we launched the bank. And here we are 9 years later, so a full 12 years later, with the exciting launch of the Legacy Coach program that I believe will become one of the sought after careers of the future. Now, the Legacy Coach program is a program underwritten and developed by Gig Trust, Gig Institute, and Gig Wealth. And I'll explain more of these entities as we go on. And I'm happy to have my friends with me, the fellow trustees of Gig Trust, which is Gavin, Julian, Jason Riley, and Muzi Kubeka, together with myself, also present here. So later tonight, when we get to the question and answer sessions, you're all welcome to chip in. Now, like in a gig, nothing is set in concrete, but we certainly have to start moving forward with what we have. We do things, we keep on tweaking the program, and that's why gig as a movement and gig as a CFI today has achieved the recognition it has with so many regulatory authorities and people out there. And just for some of you who don't know it, I want to congratulate the CFI team, Jason Riley, and all the back office staff and all the board members who've helped, because last week was in Indaba, and at the end of that Indaba, we were announced as the most CFI in South Africa at this time. So that's a huge compliment and achievement. So tonight we're going to talk about the Legacy Coach program, and what I want to start off is to talk about where are we as GIG, so that you have context for the program that is to follow. Now, what you see in front of you is a diagram depicting the journey of every family on their generational journey from struggle to stability to success to significance. But we've divided it into the family portion and the business and community portion. And what that illustrates is when people are still in their struggle stage where the money is not enough, the expenses are too high, they are so caught up in the struggle for survival that they have little time for business and community. Now, as they then move forward and they move from struggle to stability, and that little black dot depicts that they have the potential to build an international business for their family, but right now they can't even get their minds around anything else but survival, so that potential business is still a black hole. But then as they move on, their struggle is sorted out and they have more and more time to invest in business and community, which has the spin-off to bring them to their ultimate goal of significance for both the family and for their business. Now, on this journey, somewhere along the line, they will run into challenges from a regulatory nature. And the good news, and this is a critical slide that I want to leave with you as wealth legacy coaches, that one of the areas you have to comply somewhere in life is either you have your money in a normal bank or a mutual bank or in a CFI, that's going to be the future, but that relates back to the Reserve Bank. And then when you start with the lending of money, you need to be compliant with the National Credit Regulator. And when you start registering businesses and trusts, then you need to be compliant with Sub-C. So these are the regulatory environments that affect all South Africans. through the entities of Gig Trust, which is then where we have our IP and where the bank software and everything lies. And Jason is in charge of the Gig Trust. Then the Gig Institute, and Gavin is in charge of the Gig Institute. That's where we have all the support and training and also interaction with the back office to make sure that we automate the process as far as possible. And out of that came the CFI, which is our community bank, and we're now in the process of moving forward for the last leg to become a cooperative bank. So that today, for any individual or entity that wants to work with us, we bring to the table a community bank infrastructure that's ready-made, so they don't have to spend the millions and the time of 1 to 2 years to get everything in place. Training and support is in place for the right groups. We can even white label some of it. There's a national license, which is huge because there's only 3 national licenses available. And we can now help entities that want to become banks themselves through the incubation process, provided that they have a very strong proven common bond. But that's just one leg. Another leg is we have a leg to SARS. And through our Community Chamber of Commerce Trust, we have acquired the right to issue Section 18A certificates to any individual or company who wants to donate money for the upliftment of communities. And then we can issue a certificate which they can then use to deduct it as a tax expense. And then lastly, but not least, we now also have a link to the Financial Services Conduct Authority. That's the old Financial Services Board. And through the entity Gig Wealth, we can now we have the license now to do all kinds of insurance products, from short-term and life and medical insurance and investment funds, but we can also create completely new funds that will become allowed investment instruments because it's registered with the FSCA, and even pension funds can invest in that. So now that regulatory environment took us the last 12 years to put into place, and we've got excellent specialists and teams just making sure that we comply. But most of that happened in the back end, and you won't even be aware of it until from time to time we notify you. So here we have the journey that lies ahead for every family and or business, and we have the regulatory environment. And what makes this thing powerful is we can now slot in any legal entity or future potential CFI to come in, and we can immediately make our buffet of regulatory environment services available to them, provided that they buy into the main common bond. So what is the main common bond that connects all of us? And that is ongoing financial literacy training. Then we can accommodate any other sub-common bond under that, provided they buy into the big common bond. So I present to you this gig movement journey that's been achieved after 12 years of being a gig movement, but it's not the end yet. And I believe, just based on all the discussions I have on a weekly basis with so many potential community structures out there, that there's going to become a massive growth. But we will, and we can certainly handle it with all the entities on the left side, and we can scale up from 0 to millions in a heartbeat. But what we want to make sure is, with all the scaling up, the critical element that will take up most of our discussion tonight is this new focus on the Legacy Coach program. And the Legacy Coach, because most of our activities happen in the cloud, unseen, we don't invest in bricks and mortar, so we can keep the cost very low and accessible to members. We need to have someone who can be the face of the company out there and focus on the relationship with the members, and also then how to facilitate members on this wealth journey. And some of you oldies might be familiar with the term wealth coach. So we've realized that we cannot use the word wealth coach for what we envisage as a legacy coach function, because a wealth coach implies the giving of financial advice. Now, the good news, we can now, through the company Gig Wealth, anyone who is a trained financial advisor, we can bring them on board and they can offer a service to our members on the financial advice side, provided they are registered and regulated, and then facilitate people on the wealth journey. So the legacy coach and the wealth coach will be our focus for the future, but tonight I want to focus on the legacy coach. Now, a lot of people have asked us, so Gig, tell me about Gig. Who is the target market for Gig? Who do you have in mind? Well, with that journey in front of you, our target market would be any individual or family who buy into the challenge of and accepting the challenge of becoming the founding parent of their family legacy. And that's fairly well mapped out today, and we've got a history of the last 9 years of facilitating those families on their wealth journey through the CFI, and we're happy to say that even now in these tough times, we still have an unblemished record, which is unheard of in banking, where we have a zero bad debt scenario for the bank. But it's because our individuals and families are focused on their own journey and they are well trained. A thing that will get more and more attention, and Gavin and myself are working together with some other leaders in the back end, and that will become our future market for business owners. And we make a specific point of it not to call it SMEs or entrepreneurs, and they are certainly in that mix, but we believe we need to become thinking in terms of owning businesses. And you could own a business with or without being an entrepreneur, but in the end, it helps you to also have strong relationship with other entrepreneurs. So that will become another focus in another discussion going forward. And then we already have quite a few legal entities and or CFIs in the incubation groups in the incubation process to become CFIs, and that can be accommodated provided that they have a very strong, clear sub-common bond. And normally it would be something like we live in the same location or the same church or the same stokvel, or we work for the same goal, etc. So if you have uncertainties how that works, you can speak to me afterwards. But now with that in place, now you've got the perspective of what are we busy with? What is the purpose of this whole Legacy Coach program? Now, I'm introducing to you the roles of a legacy coach. And then after tonight, you can decide whether you see yourself as part of this or not. Now, in the step-by-step moving people forward from struggle to stability to success to significance, what we have learned in the last 9 years of rolling out this program is, without fail, everyone is very excited when they join the program with big ambitions of taking it forward for their family. But then very soon, within a couple of weeks to months, a reality of life sets in and people start fizzling out and they almost stay stuck in what they started off to do. So that's where the legacy coach comes in to really help move people forward on a step-by-step basis. Now, because people's emotions and minds and readiness are different at each level, we then have different focuses that our legacy coaches must assist us on. So in the struggle stage, any member who is predominantly in the struggle stage need to be helped to move from a free member to a paid member, and each member must be facilitated how to do those 3 courses. They must be assisted to make sure they open the 32-day call account, an investor account, and their loaning share account, and start committing to regular deposits into those accounts. New thing that we will discuss as well is we're going to, although we will facilitate people, we treat people as adults and they are responsible for their own journey. But to move them along their own journey, we're going to focus on an annual self-assessment. That's what ASA stands for, annual self-assessment. And we will provide you with all the tools, and every member will have the tools of how to do that. And that must then translate into a 12-month action plan for that family. And we're not going to be prescriptive what must be in there as long as we know that the family has done it. Now, when people are still in struggle, one of the areas that eats up a lot of their money could be just excessive debt that they never planned for, but now it overtook them. And the good news is within GEC, we've got highly qualified debt counselors. So as a facility, a legacy coach, your job then is to also facilitate the process to just introduce them to one of our debt counselors. Then every person needs to have financial planning done, and that's what you refer to the wealth coach. And even if they don't yet have insurance products and other financial products, that can come in time, but let them do the planning, and people with existing portfolios will do well to review it because they might be spending too much money. Then we want to introduce people to one of our strategic partners. It's not compulsory, but they can benefit greatly from seeing how they can save on their monthly expenditure and even start a part-time business. But we use that to teach people the basics of business. And then your job as a facilitator, as a legacy coach, to also facilitate and assist back office with the new member with the loan application process. Two tools that you will have to become trained on, and that will be the next step for those of you who wants to move forward on this process, is our CRM program, Customer Relationship Management Program. And we use the facility of HubSpot for now. And you will then be trained so that you can then monitor and check your own people. And I'm excited that Jason has managed to find a way in our bank software to give you a peek into your personal team so that we can take a huge load of back office, that if people want to have any question on what's happening in my bank account and when am I due for another loan, and some information that you can help them with, that's on Mambo. You will then have access to that Mambo software just for your personal team. So that's the work to be done while people are in their struggle phase. When people start moving to the next stage in stability, the focus shifts slightly. We always do the annual self-assessment and the 12-month action plan, but now we start focusing on growing their investment or investor profile and help them to build over time an investment portfolio of at least up to 100,000 Rand. Make sure they keep on reviewing their financial planning every year, because it's not just about using financial products and services, but making sure it moves them forward in terms of their family planning. And then we want to encourage every member in time to think of becoming a legacy coach. That's how we will be very effective and strong as a GEC movement out there. And then during this phase, it's important to establish those 3 income streams. And then the next step would be, by this time, to help people upgrade to business membership, because that will become a critical component of moving people forward in the plan. We also believe this is the time to start appointing your specialist team. Get an accountant, a legal advisor, a wealth coach. And this is the time to also finalize your family constitution. The tools remain the same, HubSpot and Mambo, but then you also have access to a specialist panel at the back that will take all the compliance risk off your back. And then the next step is, right, now we're moving towards success. What happened during that phase? You'll always be busy with the annual self-assessment and 12-month action plan, but now we're busy growing people to become independent investors, where they have a portfolio between 100 to 1,000 to 1 million. The annual review still takes place, but now we encourage this member to also develop other legacy coaches, which in turn will make him a mentor, and make sure that all those established income streams, 3 or more, are now put into the right legal structures, and make sure at that time you have your family trust in place and start to establish an international footprint for your family fund and develop succession planning. The tools still stay the same. And then last but not least, it's to now say, right, once people are moving into the significance phase, that's when you start giving back to society. You're still very much involved with your investment portfolio. You now have $1 million plus. You're a sophisticated investor. You can take risks. But you are also now a founder of or have adopted a community project. And then this is the time that we would like to involve you to help mentor other businesses. And then by this time, we will talk to you about starting your own family office, and we're not going to spend time on that tonight. So that, in a nutshell, is the role that every person who put up his hand to become a legacy coach will have to learn how to do. And don't stress yourself. You'll be given training on every aspect of it, which in turn will make you a very valuable person. So apart from the skills and talents and qualifications that you bring to the table as it is, with this rounding off, it's almost like a practical MBA on the run, and you will do it with real life people who are in different situations. And by the time you help your third member, you're a fully trained business consultant, so to speak, and that's going to help you in time to become that go-to person in the community. So where are we taking this? Now, one of the key things that we need all the help we can get, and that's why we're now launching this Legacy Coach program. So we haven't yet introduced it to the members, but I'm telling you about it tonight. And that's this focus on the annual self-assessment. It starts at the bottom left, where once a year we want every member to sit down with his spouse and draw out the family structure, him and his spouse and living parents and children and dependents, and just take a forward look at what's likely to happen and what needs will have to be met in the next 7 to 21 years. Once people have done that, we'll move to the next one where we say, look at the perspective on your own life and your family's life from the 8 areas of life, wheel of life. But we do it from a generational perspective, and we guide you through this process with questions. And then lastly, we've developed another list of questions that just helps to assess what is your current risk and what are additional questions that you just need to look at in your whole generational journey. Then any points that might then jump out to you during this process, you then compile it to say, I need to address this soon, somewhere in my life. Which one of these and how many of these will I be able to address in the next 12 months? And then Gavin has developed alerted us to a tool that we call Google Keep. And then you use that to complete your next 12-month action plan for your family, and you submit it to the Legacy Coach and to the GEG Institute. Now, this 12-month action plan will become a critical component going forward, and the board have decided a couple of meetings ago that you will not have access to the loan link share, the interest-free loan, and currently it stands at 2 times. It might go back to 3 times once this COVID issue is behind us. But whether it's 2 times or 3 times, you will not be considered for a loan unless you have an updated 12-month action plan on the system. So we're not going to worry and police you what you put in it. The mere fact is we want to make sure that you have thought it through and you are serious about your family going forward. So what does it take to become a legacy coach? Well, first of all, be a paid member of GEG, any option. So currently you'd only have the 60 or 120 Rand option. In time, there will be another option added. And you yourself have to complete the 3 introductory courses on GEG, which is the message, the generational goal setting and generational budgeting. And then you yourself have to do the annual self-assessment and complete and submit the 12-month action plan. Then you have to open up a 32-day call account and an investor account. So if it's already done, that's good. But for new people who haven't done it, that will have to be done. And then we expect of you, because our weekly Gig Club webinars that's held on a Sunday night from 7 to 8 is our main form of communication over and above our email communication. And even if you then are hampered to do it on a Sunday night, make sure you get onto the invitation list and receive the link, and then on your own time follow up the link, but get the information out to your members. This is how we get everybody to stay on the same page. And your main job now as Gig, you are the face of Gig. And monthly, we do on this Sunday night do a Gig presentation, and your job then is to recruit people to that, but you can also do it yourself. We'll make all the PowerPoint presentations available to you. You can do one-on-ones, you can do group meetings, Zoom meetings, it's up to you. But keep helping your team to bring in their family and members. Now, the organizational structure, it's just one of the components to be a legacy coach, is to have personally brought in 3 people that you've referred to Gig, and then through them plus other people, as long as you look after at least 10 people in your team. Then you are all required then to attend a presentation on the new life and understand what wealth products are available to refer to your people. And that point 7 will be also extended once we start bringing other professional service and products and services to the team, so that you know what is available and at the right time notify people about it. Point 8, we've developed over the Christmas period in January a legacy coach manual, which gives you all the information you would need to assist your people on any question they might have on any product or service of Gig, so that you become that first go-to person in their life. Now, to study the manual is the start, but then you have also to pass an exam and get a pass rate of 80%. We will issue a certificate. And then when you're ready to accept it, we will have an interview with you, with your legacy coach and mentor. And now the big question is, are you comfortable with the Gig value system? Because we foresee that if we start looking at moving Gig into the whole South Africa and eventually the world, what, apart from the fact that you'll become the founding parent of your family legacy, what else will be needed to make sure that we work together as a team? Well, let me just jump to the list of values that we have put down over time, and we haven't had time for the sake of this exercise to just condense it more. But in time, I will sit with the leadership and see if some of these can be grouped into 1 or 2 in fewer values, but still encompassing the whole 17 that I'm going to give you. So the first one is clear. We do this as a team, and together everyone accomplishes more. I don't think any one of you would have a problem with honest and ethical business practices, and we have a biblical foundation on everything that we do. Which brings us to point 3. With this confusion where right is wrong and wrong is right in the eyes of the world and politicians and the media, we say society should function based on an absolute standard of truth. Then transparency, no hidden agendas. Whatever we do is in the best interest of our members and the Gig movement. So sometimes if a single member feel slanted, understand we look at especially board level, what is in the best interest of the members and Gig movement. And then what we do is long term. Whatever we do in the present is with a view towards building a better future for our children's children. And I think what Jason and his team have achieved on the CFI side with this last 9 years is a clear example. When we started, I can tell you we didn't have the structures of Gig in place that we have today, but we did plan it for the future. Then righteousness, it means however inconvenient it might be, let's always focus on doing the right thing. Voice of the people. And this Sunday night will be an example of that. So make sure you tune in to this Sunday night where the topic is we hear you and we see you. But GIG is the result of the input of members over this last 12 years so that we constantly tweak and improve the environment for everyone. GIG is a movement. It's not a static organization. So understand that things will change and it will always be for the betterment of the movement. Decentralized leadership, and this is where you're going to come in as legacy coaches. There's so much we can do at the centralized level in terms of getting the bank software in place and some structures in place. But the success of this thing will be how every legacy coach takes the challenge and take it to its team, and in any specific community, work with the needs of that specific community so that growth and accountability is channeled down right to the community structure level. Then judge by results, and by this we mean the fairness principle. Even our remuneration structures and everything will be done on a fairness principle. He who does the work earns the pay. Accountability built into every structure and serving officer of GIG. Stewardship, what we do, we don't own anything. We're just stewards of resources of time, people, material, and it's on loan to us for a limited lifetime. Lead by example. Don't expect others to do what you're not willing to do yourself. Love people. It's a service. God created every person regardless of nationality, tribe, or culture. Be a servant leader. That's our highest function. Ongoing learning. And lastly, co-ownership. Everyone is a co-owner of the GIG movement to help grow and improve GIG. And then coming back to the qualifications of a legacy coach, the last three then says, once you've accepted your appointment as a legacy coach, you then complete and sign the service level agreement, which is an official contract between GIG Trust and the legacy coaches. Then we'll start the training with you specifically on Mambo and HubSpot based on the allocation of your new, on your GIG members. And then your job is go out, start the recruitment of new members and the development of other legacy coaches. So why would you do it? What's in it for you? Well, first of all, the potential income stream for legacy coaches. The first group is of a residual nature, and that's that 15% that we split as 5% referral, 5% legacy coach, and 5% mentor. But just on that 5% structure, legacy coaches can earn between 50 and 2,000 Rand a month. And then as you also bring in the other big expense of most people, and that's their insurance side, and on a referral fee only or a loan, that can help you to earn anything from 100 Rand to 5,000 Rand a month. Then there will be the ad hoc once-off income if you refer a person to a debt counselor or an accountant or a legal advisor or whatever. The money that they would normally have spent on marketing, they would then channel through to us at GIG Trust to then give through as ad hoc fees to the legacy coaches and their mentors. Then as time goes on and you get to know your job better and you build more people and you start also develop other legacy coaches, the one thing that we haven't focused a lot on, but for people who are serious about that and keen on helping people save money and also build businesses and have lifestyle. And I can vouch for that. That's what my wife and I have been doing for 40 years. You can start your own part-time business and earn 100 Rand to 50,000 a month fairly easy. Then as time goes on and you develop your program as a legacy coach, your income streams just keep on growing bigger and bigger. And then in future, you will be able to participate in new business opportunities. We will always bring business opportunities first to our legacy coach group. And then you will, as we start having thousands and thousands of members, and we can show that we have a direct relationship to each individual member, I can see the time that any new business, be it a Vodacom or a Checkers or whoever wants to break into the market, they will come to us at GIG and they say, all right, what we would have spent on marketing, we're happy to now give us a residual income and we will channel it into the legacy coach program as well. And then as time goes on and you become more and more knowledgeable on various aspects of business, and you would have your own unique skill and talent, it will be inevitable that your members in your program will come to you first for advice. But as their businesses develop, who would they trust to then bring on board as a director? It would be you. And who knows what is the sort of money you can then earn at that stage. So that in a nutshell is then the Legacy Coach program. So what will be the next steps from tonight onwards? Tonight was then the introduction. If you like what you see, I will follow this up with a mail that will come out in the next day or two. And in that mail will be an application form where you then officially must say, I like it, I want to become part of this program. Then I will send you the annual self-assessment template so that you can do it yourself. And then you must submit your 12-month action plan. I'll send you the Legacy Coach manual, and I'll send you the exam that you then need to complete and send back and pass. And then we will send you the service level agreement that you then need to sign, and we will do the interviews. You'll have to attend a new live presentation, so I'll set up an evening just for people who will be on part of the program. Then we will do HubSpot orientation training, and by that time each of you will have been allocated your members so that you know how to work with them. We'll do Mambo training, that's a different meeting, and then we'll allocate your members, and it's the launch. So by the 1st of May, we would like to launch the Legacy program with those people who are ready, and then we will start taking the next step to the members. Then ongoing, there will be the monitoring and maintaining of the program in terms of growth and quality of service. So I foresee that I will have a monthly meeting with Legacy coaches where with the tools that we will put into place with Mambo and HubSpot, we'll be able to see who are actively working their team and growing their team. And then in time to come, there might even be special recognition programs in the whole thing. And then also constantly bring on new Legacy coaches, and where needed, when Legacy coaches leave the program, we'll reallocate their members. Now, just the good news is over and above the current membership program that we have, where we have about 700 active members in the program, we have close on a further 1,500, double that amount of people that are free members that have not yet been contacted any further to become part of GIG. So for those people who will become part of the Legacy Coach program, we're going to even help you with names to follow up that have already indicated they like the Legacy Coach program.